The Bible says that the glory of a woman is her hair, and they have a lot of it usually. Changed the water to wine at the wedding. That word really means grape juice. He changed the water to grape juice. And a lot of men lust after women when they're, dancing. I don't even think of it. It's like it doesn't even enter our mind. Should we have dancing? It's just not even, it's not in the program.
Hey everyone, it is Katie. Welcome back to my channel. How are you doing? It is Wednesday, June 21st, 2023. I hope you are having a wonderful day. I spent yesterday and I literally talked to you guys about Michelle Duggar getting blasted, her finally being exposed for promoting really bad things for kids, harming kids. We talked about Miss Hillary Spivey. I dropped some tea over on my Instagram with some deets about Justin and Claire's relationship. But this video, I don't want to talk about that. I actually want to talk to you guys about Bob Duggar, because there has been something that I have known about for a very long time that I have not shared. And I think after I saw these photos up on some of the, the Sun was posting about it, and they were talking about how Bob reappeared, and I saw who it was with and what it was about, and I was like, well, now that the photos are circulating, I feel like it would be an appropriate time to talk about Bob's super inappropriate relationships with women that he has at church, and how he really focuses on women that are single or widowed or single moms, divorced, and then comes into their lives and becomes a father to their kids, gets them involved in this group, but the relationships have the appearance of a lot of impropriety. It has actually gotten him in a little bit of trouble. He's been apparently confronted about this in the past, and his helping single women, sort of preying on them, giving them gifts, love bombing them, has a lot of signs of looking a little bit groomy, okay? So I want to share with you some information I have from people that know the Duggars. On Shiny Happy People, Duggar Family Secrets, it was alluded to that Bob has moved a lot of people to Arkansas. And that's true. A lot of people in the heyday of Counting On, 19 Kids and Counting, moved to Arkansas to be near the Duggars, whether it was because they were fans, whether it was because they wanted to become part of their church, whatever, but they attracted groupies, and these groupies moved into the neighborhoods and the communities of the Duggars and got involved in their homeschooling communities. Some of them joined their churches, and some of them Bob actually physically moved and helped move to Arkansas as he was working to recruit people into the IBLP. During this process, he was lavishing these people with gifts, vehicles, helping them pay for moving. One of the former members of the church said it was a well-known open discussion that Bob was not paying his kids, and instead that money was being used to love bomb. Okay? Love bombing is by showing a lot of attention to someone when you first get to know them. A lot of times people that are narcissistic will do this, people that are groomers, people that want to get access to certain people that are vulnerable, people that are recruiting for cults, whatever, and they will lavish people with, whether it's gifts of financial gifts, whether it's favors, whether it's telling people how appreciated they are, how much they're loved, and they give them a lot of attention. They make their lives open to that person, and they overwhelm that person with positive affirmations and love, and then they use that to sort of get them into their systems. Now, Bob has been able to do this throughout the years, and this has been a strategy that he's been able to use to keep people quiet and gain loyalty from people, so that when things blow up in his family, there will be people out there that defend him. So he goes out of his way to help people. He buys them cars, he pays for homes. He might help them get into a house. He might pay for them to go to conferences. That was another thing that the source told me, is that it was well known that the groupies that he would move to Northwest Arkansas would actually be paid for by Jim. So he would pay for their kids to go to the Lord Academy. He would pay for them to get into the Journey to the Hearts. He would pay for them to attend family conferences. He would also have them over, help them stay, and in some cases would get so involved in people's lives that he was making decisions for these people in all facets, where he was having control of their relationships, how they spent their money, where they spent their time. And it was a process where he's showering them with gifts and attention from the show, the money that he's getting from the show, and then he's wooing people into the cult, and then he's also preying on women. Josh Duggar, during his trial, was paying for a woman, a widow named Denise. Denise happens to be the widow of Clark Wilson, who was a friend of the Duggars, who helped Jim Bob cover stuff up with Josh. And Denise has been cared for her entire life because she hasn't spoken about Josh, right? They can pay people off. They can give gifts to keep people quiet, okay? Well, this idea now has also led to Jim Bob having inappropriate close relationships with some of these women, and at least once, if not twice, has been confronted about it by people at church because of how close and enmeshed he's getting into these women's lives. When he has other kids of his own, he's got a wife of his own, and he has his own priorities, but he seems so focused on these women that it's a little bit suspect. So let's talk about that. Before we do, can you please do me a big favor and give this video a thumbs up? Also, please subscribe to my channel if you've not yet subscribed by clicking on the subscribe button down below. Make sure to click on the bell so you can get notified anytime I go live or new content loads. Make sure to leave a comment if you have something to say, and make sure to share this video with your friends. Let's discuss these photos. So Jim Bob has been seen with one of his friends. Her name is Jackie. Jackie has two boys, okay? Jackie is a friend of the Duggars who met them when she moved to Northwest Arkansas. Someone that knows Jackie personally and was involved in the church that Jackie joined when she moved to Northwest Arkansas said that she joined the church when she moved. She was single. She had two sons, and the Duggars swooped in. They befriended her. They offered her like friendship and support. She was not apparently doing very well financially. She was going through a lot of hardships. And Jim Bob was able to sort of like rescue her and sort of rescue her out of the trouble that she was in. And Jackie now throughout the years has been someone that's very loyal to the Duggars and loves them. And Jim Bob spends a lot of time helping Jackie at her house without Michelle there, okay? Years ago, an inappropriate relationship that Jim Bob had with Debbie Query also caused problems. So Debbie's husband passed away. Jim Bob swooped in. He starts grooming her, helping her out with stuff, doing things for her. He has people confront him at church about Debbie allegedly, and people are upset. They say this relationship appears inappropriate. They cannot say it's an affair, but it seems like they are too close for a platonic relationship. Now, I want to just mention something to you that in the system and in this world, Bill Gothard did the same thing. He would prey on young girls. He would bring them to work for him. He would provide them, free programs. He would pay for their lodging. He would pay for their transportation. He would give them opportunities. And he always exploited and went after very vulnerable girls. And the ones that were the most vulnerable were the easiest for him. Jim Bob seems to be following in the same footsteps. And what he's done is he's made it his mission, according to a former friend of his, to be the father of the fatherless. And so his goal is to befriend women that are either divorced or widowed, that have children, and help provide for them and care for them. Now, sometimes Michelle will be around in these situations, but other times Jim Bob will just go and do things for them. And he effectively, according to this friend, said that he kind of ends up sort of taking over these people's lives. In some cases, and I'm not going to say this is specifically with Jackie, but in some cases with some of these women, he's been known to dictate who they can date, what kind of relationships they can have, whether or not they're boys, who they can date. And if you're wondering if the children are someone that the Duggars are looking to have date their kids, no, that's never happened. They've never hooked up any of their children with any of the single moms that they've gotten involved with. It's not the kids. But I do think that he has an interest in the children because he wants to build cult followers. But there also could be an aspect where it's a grooming mechanism, and you just don't know. Like, he's literally made it his mission, according to this former friend, of being a father to the fatherless. He has no reason to do this other than he wants the power and the influence, and he wants to have control over people's lives, and he wants to have loyalty, but he also wants the adoration. And so there's always this appearance of impropriety. And it's not lost apparently on Michelle. Some of these relationships have at times even bothered her, but obviously she can't say anything. So at trial, when Josh was like doing all these nice things for people, he was literally just following the model of his father. So on Facebook, this woman is sharing photos, and Jim Bob's literally going over to her house to change light bulbs, to help her put on locks on her fence, helping her with being a mentor to her children, paying for her children to go to Alert Academy, and paying for them to go to conferences. And she has developed she almost looks to him as like a god, or as godly, and seeks their approval constantly. Now, I don't know if he's interested in the kids or if he's interested in the mom, but I will say that it's not lost on me that groomers will frequently target women who have single women that have children that are easier to exploit, that are easier to manipulate, and they will gain access through the woman to get access to their kids. I'm not saying that that's what he's doing. He could also be interested in the women, because Jim Bob's dad, if you're not familiar, was a serial cheater. So Jim Bob's dad, according to my conversations with Deanna, had so many affairs in his marriage with Mary, and he was constantly stepping out on her. That's what Deanna has told me multiple times. And this created a lot of problems in their lives. But this is also a model that Jim Bob watched. He watched his dad be a cheater. He watched his dad step out on his mom. He watched his dad exploit women. There's also been accusations that his dad, did things to people, namely a young girl, allegedly. So you have allegations of his dad being a serial philanderer, and he's unfaithful to his wife. And Jim Bob, watching that model, seems to be following a similar pattern of his father, where he, through this cult, is luring women into this cult by targeting single women and going after and being a father to their children, buying them gifts, being loyal, buying them vehicles, helping them find places to stay. And then the women are posting practically love letters to him on Facebook. So his former friend that I've talked to for years has said there's always been these question marks about Jim Bob and his fidelity. There has always been question marks on whether or not he is using this as a way to get them into the cult, or if he wants these women for himself. Jim Bob spent a lot of his years working out on the road, but in the last several years, he hasn't had to work because his kids were working for him on the show. He made millions of dollars. And even though he has all these children in his home, he still finds time to make a lot of time for these single women that have kids. Make it make sense. He has 20 children, he has over 30 grandchildren, and he has a wife at home, plus he runs businesses. But he can find time in all of that mess, in all of those 50 people, for other people outside of that family that are single moms with children. I shared this information on my Instagram, and the comments were all like, oh my gosh, this sounds like grooming. Oh my gosh, this sounds really creepy. I can't tell you what's going on here. I would actually think it would be more unfaithfulness than it would be him going after the kids. I actually think it's more infidelity, and I think it could be emotional affairs. The way that it was described with Debbie Query to me was that they totally felt that Debbie and Jim Bob were involved in an emotional affair. And it apparently allegedly bothered his wife, Michelle. And he has had these types of like emotional affairs with other women. So he could be doing that. He could also be crossing lines like his father. This is a man that has a wife that can't tell him no. And there's long been rumors about how did Josh get to where he is? How did he become what he was? The same friend said, if you want to know why Josh has treated Anna like a doormat, why he's cheated, why he's gotten involved in what he's done, you have to look no further than Jim Bob. Josh Duggar has modeled his entire life, his marriage, and all aspects of his life around his father. He mimics and recreates the relationships he watched with his dad. He watched his dad treat his mom terribly. He watched his dad have a wandering eye. He watched his dad get involved in these questionable relationships. Josh becomes unfaithful. Josh treats Anna like a doormat and treats her terribly, and he treats her exactly the same way that Jim Bob treats Michelle. So Jim Bob is not just doing this with single women. The single women part I just wanted to share with you because that's a part here that I think will interest those of you. And then the cult following that he's amassed there is being paid for and groomed with money from the show that wasn't paid to his kids. So he was basically having his children work for free and then forcing them to work for free so that he could use that money to groom people, to love bomb them, and to lure them into a cult. And then that would give him clout, it would give him prestige, it would give him power, it would give him unlimited access to the adoration and the fawning and the fandom of like people worshiping him that he is so after. And so many people have told me Jim Bob has become a cult leader in Northwest Arkansas with his groupies. He has a cult following of friends that follow him every time a church blows up over his behavior, which happens a lot. They go with him, and they go with him from church to church to church. And there's, I don't even know, 10 families, maybe more. They're all in this homeschooling world. They all worship the ground he walks on. The sun rises and sets with Jim Bob. He helps advise them in all facets of their lives. He helps dictate relationships. He dictates courtships. He brokers arranged marriages with some of the families. That's how he ended up with Katie Duggar. That's how they ended up with Lauren Swanson. That's how they ended up with Kendra Caldwell. These are all families that moved to be closer to the Duggars. So he's using it to get access, to recruit, to get loyalty, to have people that will defend him when criminal acts get exposed, when bad behavior is exposed. And then he has a cover of all this good behavior of he's such a godly man doing all these great things if and when he's ever found culpable of any criminal activity. The person said that he walks, talks, and acts like he's Bill Gothard 2.0. Bill Gothard has been accused by more than 30 women of sexual assault or sexual harassment. If this is the man that Jim Bob is modeling his life after, and he is like Gothard 2.0, you wouldn't be a long leap to assume that like he had Gothard girls, Jim Bob Duggar has Duggar girls, and they are single moms. I've not yet seen a single woman come out and like say that anything inappropriate has happened. It's been addressed multiple times. I had word a few years ago that there was a woman that might have had an altercation with him, but she was not going to come forward. So I don't know. In the meantime, this is all alleged, but I'd love to know what your thoughts are. Is this grooming? Is this love bombing? Is this cult tactics? Or is it something more sinister? Tell me in the comments below. Bye, guys.